I now convene this special national conference of Mortar National College Honor Society. As an organization, we have always been on the cutting edge of change and committing to ensuring that you, our collegiate members, have the ultimate voice in governing and leading our society into the future. The Special National Conference is one of the most important opportunities for you to exercise that right as our governing body. So we hope that the program we put together for you tonight is both engaging and meaningful. Now, I'd like to turn the floor over to Dr. Kirsten Fox, our Executive Director of Mortar Board, for some introductions and instructions.
Thank you, Cass. Hello, and welcome to the Special National Conference. It is really great to see some familiar names and faces on the screen, whether it's from this past year's in-person conference or through various Zoom meetings throughout the year. It's great to see so many of you again. Today, we have chapter members from 89 campuses, from Florida to Hawaii, California to Vermont, Texas to North Dakota. I even know that there's some Kansas people here, even though there is a game going on. Great to see you. We are joined today by many Mortar Board constituents. As we introduce various groups of national leaders, please let us know that you're here by putting your name, role, and institution you were initiated into the chat. So for example, I would put Kirsten Fox, Executive Director from the Ohio State University. We are excited to welcome members of the National Council. Later this evening, you will be voting on the candidates slated for 3 positions for National Council. Again, the student voice and the student vote is very important. Members of the Board of Trustees for the National Mortar Board Foundation are also with us this evening. We're always excited to have you join us as well. Please welcome our very own region coordinators, who most of you know. Our RCs work with our chapters in each of our 6 regions from across the country as the liaison between you, your chapter, and the national office. You'll be meeting with your region coordinators in just a moment. National leaders, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the volunteer work that you do to support our great society. Again, please introduce yourself in the chat and share your name, position, and where you were initiated. We are also joined today by several alumni members, many of whom are here, some who are slated for these national leadership positions, others who serve on national committees, and others who are just here to support our collegiate members and get an update on what's happening in Mortar Board. Once a member, always a member. We also have chapter advisors with us today. Our advisors are the backbone of our chapters. I thank you for your support at the local level, and we are thrilled to have you joining us for this special national conference. Alumni and advisors, please also introduce yourselves in the chat. I am also thrilled to introduce the team at the national office. They have done so much to make today happen. Their hard work and efforts behind the scenes makes tonight's special national conference a possibility. We are located right here in Central Ohio. Our Central Ohio team members include Ben Flocks, our Membership and Operations Manager, Liz Cook, our Philanthropy Coordinator, and Olivia Beckett, our Administrative Coordinator. But just like our chapters, our team is not just in Central Ohio. We truly have members coast to coast. Angela Powell is our new Marketing and Communications Manager, and she joins us from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And last, but certainly not least, and surely well known by all of our collegiate members and our advisors, is Trish Maxwell, our Director of Collegiate Success, who is joining us from upstate New York, home of Bill's territory. We are also happy to be joined by Mortar Board's interns. We have Career and Professional Development intern, Yolanda Lee from Emory University, Chapter Programming intern, Kirsten Morning from Xavier University, Chapter Research and Archives intern, Abigail Stem from Texas Tech University, and our Social Engagement intern, Mia Agamatong from San Diego State. I'm really grateful that we have these 4 student interns this year helping our team. You will see our team continuing to put prompts in the chat. They'll share screens, they'll answer questions, they'll be helping to present. Can we show the team a great round of thanks by practicing our use of emojis, hearts, smiley faces, and celebrations to give all of the hard work of the national office and my team the recognition that they deserve? And finally, I'd like to welcome our most important entity to tonight, you, the foundation of our society, our collegiate members. Thank you all for taking time out of your Sunday afternoon or evening, perhaps from your studies, again, maybe watching football, from another student organization, maybe time off early from your job. I promise you it'll be well worth your time. And just a reminder, if you joined us a little late, please rename yourself with your name, pronouns, and university. On to just a few quick housekeeping notes. We are recording the meeting, as you probably noticed, and we will share the recording link so you can further share it with other members of your chapter. We will take official roll in our region meetings, but please do write your name and chapter in the chat at this point. We will use the chat feature as a way to engage with each other throughout the course of tonight's business. However, you can always feel free to use the raise hand emoji to raise your hand and request to speak. After our presiding officer, Cass Lucas, calls on you, you will then state your first and last name and your institution. We encourage participation, so please don't be shy. And if you need any technical support, again, please use the chat or direct chat any of the members of the national office team, and we'll make sure we help you out. So here is the agenda for this evening. As I mentioned, we will first break into our regions and meet others to do our official roll call. We will then review changes to membership eligibility that we passed this past summer, the national conference in July. Remember that meeting where you held up the cards? We will discuss its impact on chapters and answer any questions you may have. Afterwards, we will have important updates from our governance committee who will share this year's proposed amendments to our national bylaws. We vote on our national bylaws twice a year, the summer conference and here at Special National Conference. Then the nominations committee will introduce the slate of candidates for the National Council, and you will have a chance to hear from each of the 3 candidates and ask them questions. Then we will discuss the 5 points of the Mortar Board experience and break into groups to discuss best practices for each area. And then we'll reconvene to talk about some national updates and what to expect for the spring. Finally, our national president, Dr. Cassandra Lucas, will leave us with a motivating charge for the remainder of the academic year. Voting on the proposed amendments and the candidates for National Council will open as soon as the meeting ends, and more details about the voting will be shared later in tonight's meeting. At this point, I would like to turn it over to National Vice President, Dr. Patience Whitworth, to introduce our next activity. Patience.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. As you've heard tonight, we have nearly 90 chapters in attendance across our 6 regions. The work you do on your campuses creates a sense of belonging among members, keeps Mortarboard sustainable, and inspires us on a national level. Supporting our outstanding chapters is the team of 17 region coordinators. These national leaders work to support chapters throughout the year. They provide timelines and guidance, troubleshoot issues that may arise, and celebrate your many, many accomplishments. This year, we're excited to work with a newly created Student Advisory Board to ensure that the student voice remains strong on the national level. The Student Advisory Board provides guidance and support to the student representatives at large and the Governance Committee. Each region elected 1 student at our national conference this summer to serve a 1-year term as their region's spokesperson. This year, the members are Morgan Butler, the University of Mary Washington in Region 1, Rory Roberts, Agnes Scott College in Region 2, Sarah Smith, the Ohio State University in Region 3, who's actually being represented tonight by Ohio State Chapter President Maya Pandia, Haley Morey, the University of Nebraska-Lincoln at Region 4, Shelby Morlock, Texas Tech University, Region 5, Nicole Brown, University of Wyoming, Region 6. We'll break into regions for a quick get to know you and roll call. This is a great opportunity to get to know other members, including these student advisory board members and our student representatives at large. National leaders and alumni, please feel free to join the region for either your alma mater or your region where you currently live. As we launch the breakout rooms, please select your region. If you're not sure, ask in chat. If you have any technical difficulties at all, as Kirsten said, a member of the national office will be able to help you get into the room of your region. We'll spend about 10 minutes in region rooms. So I wish you luck and have a great chat.
All right, we hope that you enjoyed getting to know everyone in your region, having a little bit of time to interact with each other and learn more about each other. So we're gonna move on to the next part of our agenda. And as a reminder, at the national conference in July last year, so 2024, our collegiate delegates also came together to discuss and vote on bylaw amendments that change the landscape of mortarboard, but at the same time, ensure that we continue to grow and thrive with an enhanced vision of the future of our society. So first proposed by an ad hoc membership committee and brought forward to the collegiate delegation by the governance committee, the delegation voted on 3 bylaw amendments, resulting in the following changes to mortarboard. 1, we expanded the eligibility requirements for collegiate membership to include rising juniors. We're encouraging participation for students who are eligible to remain an active collegiate member beyond the traditional 1-year experience. And finally, we are reimagining and enhancing the mortarboard alumni experience. So I'll turn it over now to Kirsten Fox, our executive director, who will discuss how we implemented these amendments.
Thanks, Cass. So we announced in the fall and highlighted in our recent forum issue, which some of you may have received a print copy, but it's online if you have not yet seen it. But we took the following steps based on the approved amendments. So first, we dropped senior from our official name, and we are now known as Mortarboard National College Honor Society. We provided chapters with the option to expand membership to juniors and select both juniors and or seniors for membership. Members who join for their junior year are then encouraged to participate for 2 years. We eliminated the continuing senior membership status and associated fee that went along with that to again encourage active participation of all students, whether they're a junior or senior, and replace the designation of continuing senior with simply continuing student. We replaced the Mortarboard Alumni Association, but with an expanded focus on the engagement of all alumni and enhancing our alumni member benefits without any annual alumni dues. Again, once a member, always a member. We renamed our lifetime membership into become the Torch Society. The Torch Society is a cohort of critical stakeholders within the society who are continued to furthering their commitment to further engage with the society. And we look forward to continuing our commitment to further engage our Torch Society members. And we formed an alumni engagement board chaired by the National Council Alumni Representatives at Large, Wilson Chan from the University of Louisville, and Leslie Ellis from Lenoir-Rhyne University, to increase their opportunities for engagement and enhance the member experience and member benefits for all Mortarboard alumni. As a reminder, although chapters are strongly encouraged to also select rising juniors, this is only an expansion of eligibility, and it is not a requirement for membership. All collegiate chapters may choose to remain a seniors only chapter on their respective campus if you wish to do so. In addition, any chapter who chooses to select rising juniors must also continue to make the opportunity available to current and rising seniors, despite an individual's participation or choice not to participate or apply during their junior year. Finally, individual chapters can still choose to charge chapter or local dues that would be retained by the chapter and used at the discretion within your chapter budget. We will now split back into regions to further discuss the membership changes and the implications for our chapters. However, it's not going to be 6 rooms this time. It's just going to be 2. Makes it a lot easier. So regions 1, 2, and 3, you will be in room 1. And regions 4, 5, and 6, you will be in breakout room 2. If you are not sure which region you are, again, please check the slide based on your state. This is also an opportunity to get to know other members from across other regions. National leaders and alumni, please feel free to join the region of either your alma mater or the region where you currently live. As we launch the breakout room, please select your background on there in the chat, and we will help move you into the correct region. We'll spend about 10 minutes discussing membership changes in your region. Okay, with that, you can go. Have a great chat.
Great. I hope everyone had a good time engaging with your region and sharing ideas based on the recent membership changes. Next, we're going to move on to the most important components of our National Society, the collegiate voice and the collegiate vote. Two of our standing committees, governance and nominations, will present items up for vote. Voting for changes to the bylaws and voting for the election of National Council candidates will take place through the use of an online ballot at the close of tonight's special national conference. Official delegates will cast on behalf of their chapters. Each chapter eligible to vote may cast one vote, which, again, should be cast by your chapter's official delegate. If you're not sure if you are the chapter delegate, please vote anyway, and the volunteer tellers will authenticate the votes. Please be sure your chapter's voice is heard and cast your ballot. Certifying the ballots is an especially important job in which we will create a committee of tellers to help complete. Tellers are collegiate members who agree to review the ballots cast and report to the National Council. This will be done on a Zoom meeting under the advisement of Mortar Board Executive Director, Dr. Kirsten Fox. This year, our Student Advisory Board will act as our tellers for the 2025 Special National Conference. At this time, I yield the floor to President-elect Nathan Cordell, who will present tonight's Standing Governance Committee report, including proposed changes to the bylaws. Nathan will be joined by other members of the Governance Committee.
Thank you, Cass. The role of the Governance Committee is to review the bylaws twice annually, and I present proposed changes from members to the collegiate delegation for a vote. I would like to thank this year's committee members, Katie, Myra, Kirsten, Clay, Anaya, and Katie V, as we like to call her. Thank you for your hard work and meticulous review throughout this process. Your dedication has not gone unnoticed, as each member thoughtfully considered the recommendations presented and expertly crafted the language that guides us. This year, the Governance Committee received 4 recommendations for changes to the bylaws. The proposed new language and sections impacted can be found in the slide. Presenting the first 2 proposed amendments will be the committee member and region coordinator, my dear friend Katie.
Hey everyone, the first proposed amendment to the bylaws of Mortar Board is in Article 6. It would reduce the minimum number of members in a chapter to, instead of a firm minimum, to a recommended minimum of collegiate chapter size, and it would be at 15. It would also eliminate the minimum percentage and instead go by that recommended minimum in terms of chapter size. Both this proposed amendment and the next one are reflections of the fact that each chapter is uniquely different. We have small schools with large chapters and we have large schools with small chapters. The size of the university and student body rarely correlate to the size of the chapter. And once candidates are selected for membership, the national yield of cross chapters is about 78%. And even more than that, there's a natural attrition between paid members and members actually becoming active in the chapter. Most chapters report an average of about 60% of paid members being active. So with these numbers in mind, it's important to have a recommended minimum size that is both achievable and helpful for chapter sustainability. However, the language of the bylaws must allow for chapters to feel supported and not penalized if they're unable to meet the recommended minimum size. Proposed Amendment 2 is similar, but you have the option to vote for both 1 and 2 separately. So in Article 6, it's further proposed to eliminate the maximum chapter size to allow chapters to choose to grow beyond 50 members without filling out an exception form. Chapters currently can exceed that, but they have to apply for that exception. In the same spirit, it would also eliminate the maximum percentage of 1.5% of the junior class. For the reasons listed with Proposed Amendment 1, those also appear here in 2. So each chapter is uniquely different. Small schools with large chapters, large schools with small chapters, it goes both ways. And again, knowing that the national yield is 78% and then 60% of those students become actually active, this would give chapters the flexibility to choose the size of their membership. For the third proposed amendment, I yield the floor to committee member Myra Hansen.
Thank you, Katie. Our third proposed change to the bylaws is in Article 3. The proposed action is to allow for the creation of a national chapter to provide additional support for students on campuses with a Mortar Board charter or potential charter to gain support from Mortar Board when a chapter is not currently active. This change would allow Mortar Board the option to create a national chapter to allow qualified members the opportunity to join when an active chapter does not currently exist on campus. This will allow chapters who have a Mortar Board charter but no active chapter the opportunity to reactivate. This will also allow prospective members who attend a college or university with no active chapter the opportunity to join the national chapter. Additionally, prospective members who attend a college or university without a charter could be selected for membership at the national level, with the intent to bring a chapter and corresponding charter to campus. This change would allow Mortar Board the ability to reactivate inactive chapters by allowing designated members the ability to review and select prospective members when an active chapter does not currently exist on campus to conduct selection. Our fourth and final proposed change to the bylaws is in Article 3. The amendment proposes to eliminate the limitation to one selection per year to allow chapters to hold 2 selections per year if they choose, without filling out an exception form. While the majority of chapters only hold 1 selection annually, more chapters are holding a second selection or supplemental selection to be more inclusive of membership and/or recruit additional qualified and interested members who would make great Mortar Boards. Currently, the bylaws limit the amount of times a chapter can select new members to only 1 time annually. This is a chapter decision, and chapters can still choose to only hold 1 selection per year. I yield the floor back to Nathan Cordell.
Thank you to the Governance Committee. Delegates, please remember to vote once the ballot opens at the close of today's meeting. Upon verification and authentication of the vote, we will keep the delegates posted of changes as there could be implications of the summer and for the summer national conference. In addition, as we look forward to elevating the student voice, we will be looking for new collegiate members to serve on the Standing Governance Committee. If you're interested in being considered, please notify the national office by email at chapters, plural, CHAPTERS, at mortarboard.org, and let us know if you're interested. I now yield the floor to my friend Cassandra Lucas.
Thank you, Nathan, and thanks to the Governance Committee. Before we move on, I wanted to open the floor and ask if there were any clarifying questions in regards to the proposed bylaws changes. Yes, Maddox. Please introduce yourself and your institution.
Thanks. So I'm Maddox. I go to the University of Washington. I'm the president of my chapter, and I was just wondering what exactly the national chapter would be doing. What would their responsibilities be?
So I will start, and then I will ask Kirsten Fox to jump in as well, or anybody from governance. So the idea is that twofold, and I think it's in the governance. The guide to governance, as well as into the proposed amendment changes. But the idea is it really is to allow for members into a national chapter who do not have currently a chapter on their campus. So we are talking about, one, those chapters that are already charted on campuses but are currently inactive. And this is a way in which the national organization can help get those chapters reactivated, and we have done that recently, but this would allow a much more formal process for us to do that. The second one would be to then expand and allow for those campuses that currently do not actually have a mortar board charter, and for members then to join to then help us establish a mortar board chapter on their campus. So in both cases, this would allow a transition period for members to be part of the national organization, participate in things like this, in special national conference, in other parts of our organization and our programming, be mortar board members, and then help get those chapters reinvigorated or established on their campuses.
To Cass's
Oh.
yeah, to Cass's point, I would reiterate that this idea is to just increase membership, and that being a goal of mortar board.
Maddox, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure. Chelsea.
Okay, so I'm Chelsea. I'm from Washburn University. I guess my question is kind of the same as his, as Maddox, but we don't have an active chapter. And I guess I'm still a little bit lost as to how this all works. So I've had a faculty advisor like in the works, and we've been planning stuff out last semester so we could just hit the ground running this semester, getting stuff back in order. So I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but
It's okay, we all do.
Well, yeah. And Chelsea, and maybe I'll kind of jump in, but then maybe if there's another question. So I think Washburn's a really good example because they've been inactive for a little bit. A national chapter actually allows an easier re-entry point for the chapter to come back. So, what the active chapters kind of learn is there's certain expectations that kind of need to happen when you're an active chapter. And so as part of the national chapter, it may be a great way to, if you don't necessarily have a large enough class to be able to elect all of the officer positions, or there may or may not be a faculty advisor that comes in right away. And so by joining the national chapter, it becomes kind of part of this larger sort of virtual chapter in a way where you would work still with a region coordinator and national office and still get all of the access to all of the resources, events like tonight, but instead of necessarily holding individual chapter meetings from the beginning, you could be part of this larger national chapter. And then when you are ready to really become an active local chapter again at just Washburn and hold those meetings, you can do that. So it creates an entry point for that reactivation, or it becomes an opportunity if there's not a chapter at all at a campus for members to learn to then kind of build the chapter, right? So the goal isn't to remain part of this kind of virtual chapter, but it's to gain momentum to get the active chapters up and running individually on campus, but with some extra support.
Because we have like a list of like juniors and seniors and everything. We have everything down. We just gotta figure everything else out.
Yep.
I know if it's applied to us or not. But
the question in the chat,
I guess that kind of answered it.
And if I could add just a little bit to that, you don't have anyone who's handing the chapter off to you. And so this is an opportunity for you to gain that knowledge that you need to be successful with the chapter. And then that will be a catalyst for you to be on your own and have your own chapter established. But you'll have that knowledge and that experience then.
To Angela Gleen's question, can a member be in both the national chapter and the college chapter at the same time? No, you'd just be in the one chapter. So you'd be in your campus chapter, but you're still part of the National Society, right? So no matter which chapter a member is part of or affiliated with, you're still a mortar board member, right? Mortar Board National College Honor Society. And so then you're just in that one chapter. Yep. And events like this and other events are for all members, regardless of chapters.
And the proposal is that we have to have 20 members in order to qualify as a chapter. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that, Erin?
Sure, sorry. Did I understand that we have to have 20 members in order to qualify as a chapter?
No, that's not correct. That's not a requirement.
So if we go back another amendment on the slides. So
Can you actually go back to Amendment 1?
yep. So that was what's confusing because they're separated as two separate amendments. So Katie, I didn't mean to interrupt you if you want to say it. So we added the word recommended for that exact reason. So it's not a minimum number. There's a recommended minimum, but there is no expectation or mandate of a minimum number. And then the recommended minimum also shifted from 20 down to 15. But again, that's why that word recommended is bolded.
Yeah, and to your point, Aaron, as well, that's the whole idea behind these changes is to increase membership and to bring everybody into the fold. So it's recommended, but if you have 10, you have 10. If you've got 100, you have 100. So
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. We're a small but mighty group.
love small but mighty. That's great. We'll take it. We'll take it.
We understand. So there's a question in the chat, but I also see Elizabeth Clark has a hand up. So I'll start with Elizabeth, and then Aiden, we'll come back to your question in the chat.
My comments just to amplify that about the numbers. We've had a similar thing happen here on campus, just in our student orgs. So it used to be had to have a 10-member minimum to be registered as an org, and they've lowered that, trying to revive those student organizations. If you don't have 10 members yet, they just need to have some officers in place so we can get them trained in and move forward. So that's something I think that's happening a lot of places as we revive our student connections.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth. Hope to hear that. And Aiden's question is, does the national chapter have any plans, ideas, or strategies for encouraging and fostering growth from the national chapter? And if so, what are some of these strategies? And so I think you've heard us talk about really sort of the first two. And so that first one is to utilize the national chapter to really help us reinvigorate and reestablish chapters on campuses that already have charters. So where we may have inactive chapters, but potential Mortar Board members who are interested, this national chapter will allow us to have some of those members get started in that first year and then help us select the next year's chapter and really sort of start to build on that sustainability, which again would be helping us foster that growth. And then the second one would be to allow for membership where there is not a current charter on campus. And so that would help us plant new chapters at universities and college campuses where we currently do not actually have chapters. So both of those are kind of the initial strategies. I'm sure that there'll be more as we sort of expand this idea, but that's really where we're looking to get started. Is we've heard from both of those. We've heard from students reach out to us for where their chapter isn't currently active and would really like to be part of Mortar Board and help us get that started. And then potential members who are at campuses that have not had a Mortar Board chapter before, but would really like to have one on their campus. So Mahika has asked about support for smaller chapters, and I will start and then certainly let Kirsten jump in, but there's absolutely support from the national office now for those smaller chapters, and folks who are on this call will be happy to help provide that support in any way that they can from the national office.
Yeah, great question. I think this is where, again, I want to reiterate, there will be no minimum number that is mandated. So we know we have some really, again, small but mighty chapters that are strong. And that's where the national office and your region coordinators will work with you to continue to help you with your plan to figure out what's the best way to strengthen that. And there may be times you would tap into opportunities with the national chapter, like the national application or the virtual national initiation. And there might be times that you want to do something as just a local chapter only. And we would absolutely work with you to figure out what is the best opportunity and best situation for you in that case. So, and Trish, I'm going to say, if you want to jump in here as well, since you're actually the person in the office that provides most of those resources.
Yeah, sure. So that's exactly why I'm here and why the region coordinators are here. We're happy to jump on any meetings that you want. I was on a meeting last night, and any way we can help you, the chapters, we're willing to kind of jump in and help and give ideas for kind of building support. But we realized that, I think the issue is the bylaws were very rigid, right? So, by adding the word recommended, it's recommended that this is the chapter size, it gives you the flexibility without having to fill out a different petition. Like, oh no, we only got 19 members, not 20. Well, you got to fill out a petition. Or, oh, I want to have 51 members, not 50. Well, you got to fill out a petition. So that's the hope with that amendment, is to kind of cut down on the work that you have to do and really give you the flexibility, kind of in conjunction with the national office and your region coordinators, to say, what's our best size? What does that look like? And then from there, the national team really supporting you, whether that's, helping with applications or, how do we review, any of the kind of, how do we do this? That's what we're here for, to answer those questions.
All right, thanks everyone. As a reminder, you can also find these proposed bylaws in the guide to governance. And if you continue to have questions, feel free to reach out to, as we talked about, anybody here in the national office or in national leadership that can help you, both around the proposed changes or around other questions you may have for your chapter. So also what's in the guide to guidance is the candidates presented tonight for open positions on National Council. Before the committee presents their report and introduces the candidates, I want to thank the members of this year's committee. So immediate past president and standing nominations chair, Katie Chick, past national president, Dan Turner, and our current student representative, Sierra Malik Misselhorn. I now call on our Standing Nominations Committee Chair and immediate past President Katie Chick to place into nominations the slate for National Council offices.
Thank you so much, Cass. Hello, everyone, and thank you for a robust discussion so far. I'm hoping that continues as you get a chance to meet our fabulous candidates for National Council. Our committee is charged with creating a slate of candidates for the open positions on the National Council in advance of each special national conference. This year's committee did a fantastic job recruiting and selecting the candidates you will meet in just a few moments. We have 3 positions on the ballot today. Alumni Representative at Large with candidate Wilson Chan, initiated at the University of Louisville. Treasurer with candidate Kaylee Weicker, initiated at Ohio Northern University, and President-elect with candidate Dr. Patience Whitworth, initiated at The Ohio State University. As Cass mentioned, you can learn more about the roles and responsibilities in the bylaws on page 4 to the Guide to Governance. Each candidate will be introduced by a member of our committee and will answer a question that we hope will tell you a little more about their qualifications for their respective positions. After they answer, we'll open the floor for you to ask questions. Feel free to raise your hand or put your question in the chat when the time comes. You can learn more about each candidate in the Guide to Governance on pages 9 and 10. At this time, I will ask Standing Nominations Committee member and student representative on the National Council, Sierra from the University of San Diego, to introduce our first candidate.
Thank you, Katie. I am pleased to introduce our first candidate, Wilson Chan, who is slated for re-election to the position of Alumni Representative at Large. Currently serving in this position, Wilson is eligible to run for a second term. Wilson is a former section coordinator and served as a student advisor to the National Council. More information about Wilson can be found on this slide and in the Guide to Governance. At this time, I would like to ask Wilson a question. Wilson, you've been on the National Council for the past 18 months. tell us what made you decide to run for a second term as alumni representative at large?
Thank you, Sierra. Thank you for the question. 18 months seems to be a very long time, but honestly, it came and went very quickly. And to be honest, it really took a bit of time to get someone acquainted with the role, and then at the same time to work with the national council members along with the national office. So having another term will allow me to be more focused at the same time, able to contribute to this role effectively.
Thank you so much, Wilson. I would now like to open the floor to any questions for Wilson. Please put your questions in the chat or raise your hand and we will call on you. Wilson, one of the questions in our chat, what was your biggest aha moment being on the National Council this past year?
Well, actually, to me, there's not a whole lot of aha moment, but I just want to say that the volunteerism for all our national leaders, as well as all the volunteers, has been outstanding. I mean, there's so much time, effort, and energy go into each of these positions at the same time that the focus and we all of us are volunteers, not a paid position. So I just want to say personally acknowledging for the dedication and their support to all the collegiate members along with to our alumni. So I'm fortunate to be part of it.
Thank you. Another question, how have you stayed involved with Mortar Board and connected to your local chapter over these years?
Well, appreciate the question. I've been very fortunate. My alma mater, my chapter really liked me enough that had invited me back to support their events, mostly for the initiations every year in the spring, along with I had the privilege to work with the student leader and chapter advisor on their behalf to actually tapping some of their honorary members for the past several years. So that has been a tremendous opportunity and experience, and I look forward to continue to do that. And personally, also, I had an opportunity to meet with some other chapters that, as I was used to be a regional coordinator, so that kind of led me to additional experience that I get to understand how other chapters operate and learn from them so that I can share with other chapters.
Absolutely, that's amazing. Are there any other questions for Wilson Chan? Aaron asks, what is your main purpose and mission?
Well, I like to share that really my purpose is to further Mortarboard into the alumni experience. As far as I'm concerned, and also along aligning with Mortarboard strategic plan, Mortarboard is a lifetime experience. So in this case, we need to really work with and introduce our alumni member to engage with the society in a way that they found their community. They can able to take their talent and experience to help out their chapters, at a regional or national level, along with contribute their experience as professionally, so that if someone have a profession that is related to can contribute to others for either collegiate or even alumni member, we want them to help them. So that's something that I think it is something that we all strive toward, and looking forward for the opportunity to continue what I've been doing.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to thank you, Wilson. I now yield the floor to my fellow committee member and former national president, Dan Turner from Northern Illinois University.
Thank you, Sarah. Our second candidate, Kaylee Weicker, is slated for treasurer. This is a 2-year term and eligible for re-election. Kaylee is a longtime region coordinator and a former chapter treasurer. You can read more about Kaylee on the slide and in the National Guide to Governance. At this time, I'd like to ask Kaylee a question. Kaylee, you've been a strong regional coordinator for 6 years. Tell us, what was the motivation for you to put your hat in the ring for the National Council at this time?
Thanks, Dan. Thank you so much for the recognition. It has been my absolute pleasure and privilege to serve as a region coordinator, formerly section coordinator, for the past 6 years, and to get to work with the wonderful, committed, and excellent students and advisors at the chapters in the Midwest area. Over the past 6 years, I've had the opportunity to see firsthand the impact that strong leadership can have at every level of our organization. My motivation to put my hat in the ring for the National Council at this point stems from seeing that strong leadership at work in Mortarboard and a desire to take the experiences that I've had and my passion for supporting our community to the next level. I believe that by contributing at the national level, I can help shape strategic decisions that will not only strengthen the regions, but benefit the entire organization. As we move forward, I would like to focus on creating a sustainable, inclusive future for everyone involved. And I'm excited to hopefully be a part of that bigger picture.
Very good. Thank you, Kaylee. I'd now like to open the floor to any questions for Kaylee. Please go ahead and put them in the chat or raise your hand so we can call on you. All right, first question here. What lessons have you learned as a region coordinator that you'll bring into this role?
As a region coordinator, I've learned a lot about the importance of building strong relationships, listening actively to the needs of our members, and staying agile in the face of challenges. The value of clear communication is a key lesson that has been essential for fostering positive collaboration and making sure that everyone in the chapters, whether it's an advisor, an officer, or a chapter member, feels heard and supported in their journey. I've also come to understand how crucial it is to be proactive in planning and problem solving, as well as addressing scheduling or other issues early on, especially when selection and initiation is such a long process sometimes. I'll bring experience of connecting with people, being a strong communicator, and thinking strategically to the National Council. With a focus on teamwork, I hope to continue to support the unique student-led organization that Mortarboard is.
Very good. And Kaylee, we've got another question. Let's see. Do you have a favorite special cause?
Special cause. Honestly, being a mom, it's kids. A lot of my volunteerism focuses around children of all ages, whether it's collegiate students or young children. My husband is a Shriner, so we do a lot to support Shriners Children's Hospitals through that organization. So pretty much anything that has to do with kids has my heart.
I can relate. I've got two of my own, two young ones of my own. Thank you, Kaylee. I now yield the floor to our committee chair and immediate past president, Katie Chick.
Thank you, both Sierra and Dan. And I'm excited to continue with our final candidate for election, Dr. Patience Whitworth, who is running for president-elect. The president-elect term is 2 years, followed by 2 years as national president and 2 years as immediate past president. So all told, this is a 6-year commitment. And as you can see on the slide and in the Guide to Governance, Patience's history with Mortarboard leadership is substantial, most recently serving in her second term as vice president on the National Council. And at this time, I have a question for you, Patience, before we invite others to join us in this conversation. So Patience, where do you hope to leave your mark or your legacy as national president?
Thanks, Katie. You know, we talk about this when we induct people, but that Mortarboard is something that you can be involved in far beyond your collegiate years, but actually for the rest of your life. And for me, that's been true. I've been involved with Mortarboard in one way or another since my collegiate years, and it truly has been one of the most important communities to me, and some of the most involvement that I've been able to have. Working with Mortarboard students is probably the best part of that, the current students, and being able to connect with people all over the country. And I'm pretty passionate about not only the impact that our chapters have on their local community, but the collective impact we have nationally and the benefits that we have to connecting with each other. But Katie, legacy, the word legacy is a really big word for an organization that's more than 100 years old. So I would just say, that is a steward of the incredible legacy of Mortar Board and how we have remained student run and how we have evolved over the years to be responsive to the contemporary needs of higher education and our students. I would want to encourage us to continue to do that. I think we do that by focusing on supporting our chapters and enhancing the national connection. I think you've heard in our discussions tonight that there's not one size fits all Mortar Board. Actually, that's what I love most about the organization, that we have chapters of all different shapes and sizes that are having incredible impacts in their community. And I would never want to change that. I think that that's really important. And so I think we just need to continue to support our chapters, continue to facilitating a sense of connection to one another, expanding member benefits when possible. And ultimately, I loved what Wilson said about sort of creating more opportunities for alumni to continue to connect to the society.
Thank you so much, Patience. What a thoughtful response. I do want to open it up to the floor for other questions as we talk with our candidate for president-elect. It's an important role, and we want to hear from you. I did get a question directly messaged to me, so I'll start with one, and then others can raise their hand or chime in. But what advice would you give the students on today's call about making the most of their Mortar Board year, especially those that only have a few months left on their campus?
Sure. I always say the spring semester goes by in just the blink of an eye of your Mortar Board year, but I think that there's still time. In the breakout room, we just talked about selections and folks trying new things this year with incorporating juniors or, kind of putting their fingers out there to see what works for them. And I think that's great. I think spring semester goes really fast. And my best advice is, we're all attracted to Mortar Board because we want to serve our community and because we're leaders in that community. And I think my best advice is at this point forward, pick something that your chapter wants to do together to leave it in a better place than you found it. And as much as I'd like to say double the membership and double your bank account and double the number of service events, I think that's unwise. I think pick just a couple of core areas that you as a chapter want to be committed to and achieve it together, because I think it will feel more like an achievement if you sort of name it and have sort of your intention for the spring semester, because it goes so fast.
Thank you, Patience. One last question that came in. Do you have any guiding principles for your own leadership and philosophy that you could share with the group?
Sure. If you talk to me for more than 5 seconds, you'll know that I'm passionate about restorative practices. It's not only my research, but something I try to practice in my daily life. And so I try to center restorative practices principles into my leadership role. And the basic of the sense of it is that people are happier and healthier when you lead with them rather to them or for them. And so I think about that a lot. I think about offering high levels of opportunity and support to folks that I'm working with, but also high levels of expectation. And so I think I would lean on restorative practices, but also the idea of leading with people rather than to them or for them.
That's wonderful. Patience, I'm just wrapped a conference this week, and I thought a lot about the way you led us through our debrief of our national conference from a place of restorative practice. It really actually sustained me a lot this weekend in the moments of stress. And I love this idea of, as leaders of leaders, everyone in Mortar Board can lead with or lead for or to. And so I know you'll bring that to this role, and I just appreciate your saying yes to being on our slate tonight. So thank you to all 3 candidates. Having worked with each of you in various roles across my tenure in Mortar Board, I could not be more excited about the experience, the energy, the excitement that each of you could bring to our National Council. And so to our student delegation, voting for the candidates is up to you. Please make sure your voice is heard. As Cass said earlier, the voting will be online and will begin before the end of tonight's conference and continue through Wednesday, January 29th. An online link will be shared in the chat and again via email following tonight's special national conference. Each chapter eligible to vote may cast just 1 vote for each candidate. Please remember to cast your vote and make your chapter's voice heard on all matters that were discussed tonight. We always want to ensure there is a collegiate voice on this committee, just as Nathan said on the governance committee. So if this inspired anyone to join our standing nominations committee, we will meet again later this spring as we prepare to bring forward candidates for our 2 student representatives at large for our summer national conference. So feel free to reach out if you are interested. And Cass, I yield the floor back to you.
A huge thank you to Katie and the entire nominations committee, and especially to these candidates for their dedication and commitment to serve Mortar Board for their term. So now it's time for our group photo. Please turn your cameras on and get ready as I introduce our photographer. So Olivia Beckett is our new administrative coordinator at Mortar Board. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you, Cass. It's great to see all of your faces this evening. I am going to count to 3 a few different times and take a few pictures. So everybody start cheesing. All right, those look great. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to yield the floor back to Kirsten Fox and Trish Maxwell to discuss what you can look forward to this semester.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for your patience during that picture. We promise we're going to wrap it up here in the next couple of minutes. But with so many members joining us tonight, it just takes a while to get through all those pictures. Thanks to all the committee members who spoke. I do want to do a shout out as well. We've got advisors like Dr. Denise Rohde, who has been an active volunteer since the early 1970s. So truly, when we say once a member, always a member, we've got a member for a long time who continue to come back and show support. So that said, through all these years, we still have one kind of common Mortar Board experience that connects all of us. And so you're going to hear more about this on social media. We unveiled this at the conference, but none of this should look new or different. It's just a way to really think about Mortar Board as you're preparing to select your new members, how they will have their experience, and what you will continue to do. So the 5 points of the STAR: national conference, service to campus and community, membership, fundraising, and campus visibility and recognition. And at the core of all of that is a commitment to our purpose. So we will be sharing more of this out on social media over the next couple of weeks, along with some tips and suggestions, and definitely want people to do some interactive kind of engagement and comment on the posts and everything to share ideas of what your campuses are doing. You will also be hearing more about Mortar Board Week, which is coming up. For those of you that remember, Mortar Board, our birthday is officially February 15th. So we're going to end the week with Mortar Board's birthday celebration. But you can see an entire list of activities. These are also already all on our website. So we definitely look forward to seeing many of you there. We're really excited. We've got a good panel lined up for the Career Connections networking event on Wednesday, February 12th. And we know that a lot of your chapters are doing things as well. So that is Mortar Board Week coming up pretty soon, actually. After Mortar Board Week, we have some other career connections. So this is what our intern Yolanda Lee has been working on. So in addition to the networking panel, we have a great crafting your personal brand workshop in March, a balancing career goals with personal well-being in April, and a continued education for career success in May. And then Tricia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So we know that, most of our chapters host info sessions or orientation sessions on campus. We do want to let you know that we also host bi-weekly ones. So if you don't have capacity to host one, or if a student misses yours, feel free to give them the dates of any of these. The more information is on the events webpage. Similar to that, we also will be holding 2 national virtual initiations. So if you need a little extra assistance this semester and you think, I don't know if I can put on an initiation myself, we're happy to loop you into there. Just let me know. And similarly, if you have anyone that misses your initiation that you want looped in, just connect with us and we'll make sure that they get connected. But I want to take a second to introduce one more person. So Ann Massia is the region coordinator from she's region coordinator from Region 2, but she's also a University of South Alabama initiate and a 2023 Mortarboard Fellowship winner. So Annie, can you join us to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you so much, Trish. So each year, the Mortarboard Foundation provides over $30,000 in fellowships to mortarboards who will attend graduate school in the next academic year. So as a clinical mental health counseling student at the University of South Alabama, I was and am very grateful for this financial recognition. Fellowship applications are currently available on the Mortarboard website and close on March 15th. You do not have to know where you're attending at this point in the process. Just that you will be going to graduate school in some form or fashion. So in addition, it is also award season. So Mortarboard chapter award submissions are due on May 15th, also my birthday. So in addition to the Gold and Silver Torch Awards, Mortarboard recognizes chapter excellence in programming, DEI and B, and advising. Each year, one chapter is awarded the Freeman and Fox Most Improved Chapter Award, and one receives the Ruth Weimer Mount Outstanding Chapter Award. Additionally, each year, 2 outstanding individuals are awarded the Starlington Prize. These students receive a $500 award and free conference registration to the next annual conference. Collegiate members nominate your advisors. Advisors nominate your collegiate members. And I hope to see all chapters submit for chapter recognition. I will now yield the floor to Ben Flox, who will talk about the Mortarboard store.
Hey, everybody. Just as a reminder, I want to say thanks, Annie. If you haven't marked your calendars yet, just remember the fellowship deadline is March 15th, and the collegiate awards deadline is May 15th. In addition to helping our chapters with their membership certificates and pins, I also help you all with your graduation regalia needs, so cords, stoles, medallions, all that good stuff. The Mortarboard store offers all of these for graduation. We offer bulk order options of 10% off 10 items or more, and free standard shipping. So if your chapter would like to order bulk graduation regalia, you can contact the national office at 614-488-4094, or you can email mortarboard@mortarboard.org. Earlier this month, we also launched a new store with new Mortarboard merch. We partnered with Greek Gear, so now we offer several designs, colors, items, including hoodies, crew necks, t-shirts, umbrellas, tumblers, anything you can think of. So feel free to check that out and let us know if there's anything you'd like to see in the store, and we can see about getting that added to our roster. I will now yield the floor back to Kirsten and Trish.
Correct again and just turn it right over to Cass.
So I want to thank everyone tonight for your participation in the special national conference. Will you please join me in a round of applause and kudos for our governance and nominating committees, region coordinators, candidates, national leaders, and national office who have facilitated such an effective and informational evening. Thank you, everyone. So Special National Conference is one of my favorite events as we focus on the business of governing while also having the opportunity to come together with representatives from the whole of our society, our collegiate members, alumni, advisors, and national leadership. Tonight, we had a chance to get to know each other a little bit better in our regions and talk about the recent changes to our membership, as well as work on that important governance. So please, again, don't forget to vote. So I recognize that winter and spring is a busy time for many of you. For those who are graduating, you're applying for graduate and professional schools, looking for jobs, and are thinking about the logistical details of your next phase. And for those of you who are continuing on campus, you may already be thinking about thesis projects, internships, and your own steps for the next year. But there is still some work for you to do for you and for your chapter, and it's your turn to leave a legacy on your chapter for Mortarboard. So I encourage you during these busy times to celebrate Mortarboard Week, enjoy your recruiting, selecting, and initiating of the next chapter, and congratulations to those chapters who have already selected. And most importantly, have fun with your fellow chapter members over the next few months. This is your chance to strengthen your chapter and hand it off to the next chapter to advance our ideals, purpose, and goals on your campus. So before we move on to the last piece of business for the evening, I charge you with the following. Have fun with your chapter, pass your experience and knowledge to the next chapter as part of your legacy, and carry on your mortarboard journey as an engaged alumni member. Thank you again for sharing your collegiate voice during our special national conference, and best wishes for the great rest of your year. Please note that voting is now officially open and will remain open until Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. Mortarboard was founded by students, for students. 107 years later, we are still a student-governed society. The collegiate voice and vote matters. Each chapter eligible to vote may cast one vote. The highest officer attending from your chapter will be considered the official delegate. If you are not sure who the official delegate is for your chapter, you are encouraged to still vote. The volunteer tellers will authenticate the votes. Please note the link in the chat and on the QR code on the slides. Thank you for joining us today. I now officially adjourn the 2025 Special National Conference.